I mean, come on, look at that crumb. This is the kind of bread that makes you forget what's going on in the world. Hi, I'm Nick Mangiapane, but you can call me Nick Eat Bread. Because in Italian, mangiapane literally means eat bread, so I guess I'm just making my ancestors proud here. This is my very first bread video, so I want to show you a recipe that was initially very intimidating to me. Tartine's Country Bread. And I'm going to show you step by step, starter to crumb, how to do this recipe. Let's go. Here's everything you'll need. A digital scale. This thing is going to be your best friend. You have to be precise. If you're still using cups, that's crazy. Get out of here with that. Next up, you are going to need a mature sourdough starter. It looks like this one is not actually ready yet. You can tell there's not a lot of bubbles on top. We're gonna give it more time before we get started on our levain. Next up, we have a digital thermometer. This is gonna be used mostly to check the temperature of the water and make sure it's the right temperature going in. Temperature can change everything about your dough. So in order to mix your levain, just go ahead and find a clear container similar to this. You'll wanna be able to measure up the side how much it's risen. A lid is great, so yeah. Just a Tupperware can be fine. You are going to need a large mixing bowl. So this is really handy for the beginning of the process and can't wait to show you how to use it. Next up, we have our scrapers. This one with a rounded edge is used for bowls. It really gets in there. It gets all the flour that got stuck off. This one is a bench scraper. So this is for the countertop when you are trying to move the dough, for things that get stuck on the counter, etc. Next up, we have a flat-sided clear container that we're going to use for the bulk fermentation process. This is called a Cambro. It has a lid, it has measurements on the side. It's really great for this, and they use these at restaurants. However, you can use any clear container that you like, and I'm sure it'll work well. Next up, we have 2 Benetton baskets. So these are going to be really handy when you're shaping your dough and letting them do the final proof. So I just showed you the Benetton baskets, and these are actually disposable plastic covers that you put on when you're doing the final proof in the fridge. It keeps it from drying out. These are great. You can also use shower caps. Next up, we have a bread lame. I found this online. It's basically a razor for scoring the dough. You'll use this at the end. Next up, I have my Dutch oven. So this one has a smaller lid with a larger base, and when I bake it, actually flip it upside down and use that as the base. So this is very important. If you don't have one, ask a neighbor, pay them back in bread. It's going to be great. These next 3 things are probably things that you have around the house. We have parchment paper, a tablespoon, and sea salt. And of course, flour. But not just any flour. If you want great bread, use quality flour. This recipe calls for white flour, wheat flour, and rice flour. For my white flour, I use King Arthur organic bread flour. Some say that the taste and the rise is better with the organic version. For my wheat, I use King Arthur golden wheat. And for my rice flour, I use Bob's Red Mill organic rice flour. You're gonna wanna have a couple flour mixtures on hand. So in a medium container, I always have my starter flour mix. So this is 50% white, 50% wheat. And this is used to feed your starter and also to create your levain. In a smaller container, you're gonna wanna have 50% wheat flour and 50% rice flour mixture. This is used to sprinkle in the Benetton basket, and this keeps the dough from sticking to the basket, but the rice flour also keeps the bread from burning in the oven. You're gonna wanna keep a journal so you can keep track of timing, temperatures, and quantities. This is great for remembering what worked and tweaking what didn't next time. Now I know what you're thinking. This is a lot of stuff to buy up front, and yes it is, but I promise you it's not that expensive. You will use this stuff often, and you will be thanking me when you are enjoying delicious bread. Let's get going. The first thing that the recipe says to do is to take 1 tablespoon of mature starter. That's going to range from about 20 to 25 grams of starter. Right here it says 23. Then what you're going to do is take your 78-degree water, zero it out again, and you're going to put 200 grams. All right, and then you're going to do equal parts 200 grams of the 50-50 flour. Oops. and 400. There we go. Now that you've added all that, I love to take a chopstick and just go ahead and mix it up. Now I'm just going to go ahead and clean the sides so that I can see clearly how much it's risen. Push that all down. All right, my levain is ready to go. I've taken a dry erase marker and I marked where the line currently sits. I write down the time, it's 5:35 p.m. You can also take a rubber band and get the same effect to see where it stands. You basically just want to see how much it rises. My house is pretty cool at night, so it takes about 11 to 12 hours for my levain to be ready, so see you in the morning. Well, would you look at that? It's more than doubled in size, and we have beautiful bubbles on top. The best way to see if the levain is ready is to grab a scoop and drop it in some water. And if it floats, which it did, great, it is ready. Now I'm going to grab my scale, my mixing bowl. I'm going to pour 700 grams of 80-degree water into the bowl. Next, I'm going to put 200 grams of the levain. You'll notice that it continues to float, so it is ready. So now what I'm going to do is just mix it up. Make sure it all gets dissolved. Try not to splash and make a mess like I just did. Sorry, Carl. That's my husband. This recipe calls for 1,000 grams of flour. This is to make 2 loaves. So we're going to start with 900 grams of white flour. And then 100 grams of wheat flour. So the recipe says to go ahead and mix it by hand, dig your hands in, but I'm gonna go ahead and take my bowl scraper and just try to mix it up a little bit first before getting my hands in there, because it will get messy. Look at that come together. All right, now I'm going to get my hands in there. Look at that. So go ahead and pull that off your fingers. You can even use your bowl scraper to get it off your fingers. Please wash your hands before this. It's gross if you don't. All right, one last scrape to get the bits off. Then you can rinse your hands off. So So now we're gonna let the flour and the water rest for a bit. We'll put a towel over the top. This process is called autolyse, and it allows the starch and the protein to really absorb the water before we continue. So you might be thinking, now that I'm done with my levain, what do I do with it? Well, it actually becomes your starter. So now that I've cleaned my little starter jar that I use, I'm going to scoop my levain, just pour it right in. And then I will continue feeding this every day because this is my new starter. Or I can put it in the fridge, feed it once a week if I'm not planning on baking anytime soon. Look at that. Now we're going to measure 20 grams of salt. There we go. All right, now that the autolyse is complete, we're going to take our salt, put it on top, and then we're going to add 50 grams more of 80-degree water. Very carefully. You don't want to add too much. All right, 50. So now you're just going to go ahead and squeeze that, mix it in. Look at that. Maybe even flip it around. You might even grab your bowl scraper and get the bottom. All right, look at that. Now what you're gonna do is take your Cambro. This is gonna be the bulk fermentation process. So you're gonna take the dough and just plop it in there. And over the next 4 hours, we're gonna do stretch and folds. We're gonna watch this rise up. And we're gonna see this start to turn more into sourdough dough. All right, so the dough is ready for bulk fermentation. As you can see here, I did use dry erase marker to put a line to see how much it's risen over the course of 4 hours. I wrote 6:18 a.m. For the first 2 hours, we're gonna stretch and fold every 30 minutes. Let's go. All right, so 30 minutes have gone by. What you're gonna do is wet your hand and then stick it in. And you're gonna scoop underneath to kind of pull it out from the Cambro. Scoop it, then you're gonna pull and fold. Stretch and fold. Maybe get your hand a little bit more wet, a bit sticky. Dip that under there again. Stretch and fold. You can do this 3 to 4 times per round. Stretch and fold. Now you're gonna let that sit for another 30 minutes. After 30, do a few more stretch and folds. Wait another 30, then do a few more. All right, so now we are at the end of our first 2 hours. I'm gonna wet my hand. You'll notice the dough is getting shinier. It looks nicer. We're gonna give it 2 more turns. And then, hey, maybe 3, let's go. All right, oops. So then we're gonna leave it in here. We're gonna do 2 more hours. So you could do another stretch and fold during this next 2 hours of bulk fermentation, but I decided to just let it rest for the full 2 hours. Look, this is why a clear container is extremely helpful. Look at the bubbles on the side and watch it rise. Look at all these bubbles on top too. Now that the bulk fermentation is complete, go ahead and add some flour to your work surface. Grab a scraper and gently get your dough out of the Cambro and onto the work surface. Throw some more flour on top to reduce sticking, and then grab your bench scraper and try to separate this into 2 even sides. Now we're going to pre-shape the dough, and there's a couple ways to do this. You pull it towards you and turn, pull it towards you and turn. Basically, you're tucking the dough under itself and you're building tension on top. The second method for pre-shaping is using your bench scraper. So what you're going to do is use the bench scraper to pull it towards you, and also use your left hand to tuck it under, building tension on top. Make a little more room over here. So pull it towards you, use your hand. Pull it towards you, use your hand and tuck. Pull it towards you. And then once you feel ready, you're just going to go ahead and move that next to your other loaf. And it's ready for bench rest. And then after that will be the final shaping. Grab yourself a towel and let these bad boys take a nap for about 20 to 30 minutes. Grab your 50% wheat, 50% rice flour mixture, and lightly dust the inside of your banneton baskets, including the walls. This is so your dough doesn't stick during the final proof. Doing the final shaping can be a little intimidating, but it's not too bad. Kind of pull it out into like a little bit of a rectangle. Then what you're going to do is take the bottom, fold it up, pull the middles out to the side, fold one side over, another side over, make sure it sticks, pull the top, and flip it over. Now give it a little tug. Pinch the top corners together, pinch the middle together, more part of the middle together, and then pinch the bottom together. Make sure that it's all sealed. Slap it out, and just start tucking and rolling onto itself. Just like this, keep going, keep going, keep going. Go ahead and grab your Benetton basket, and then you're going to place it seam side up, just like a little baby. You can pinch together any exposed seams, just like that, and you're good to go. Sprinkle a little more flour mix in the upper wall of the Benetton basket to prevent sticking in the final proof. Place the covers over the baskets. You do have the option to do a warm proof on the counter for 3 to 4 hours, but I'm going to do a cold proof for 8 to 12 hours in the fridge. When you're ready to bake, place your Dutch oven on the center rack. A trick that I learned is that if you take a baking sheet and you place it just underneath, you prevent the bottom of the bread from burning. With the Dutch oven inside, preheat your oven to 500 degrees. Once it hits 500 degrees, wait 20 minutes before starting your bake so that the Dutch oven is hot. It's time to see if our final proof is done. What you're going to do is take your finger and press the dough. If it doesn't spring back at all, that means it's overproofed. And if it's firm and springs back too fast, that means that it's underproofed. What you want is a slow spring back like you're seeing here. Flip your Benetton basket onto the parchment paper and gently pull up. Now there may be an excess of flour on the top. Take a brush and brush it off. Now one of my favorite parts, we're going to score the bread. Take your bread long and just angle it a little bit and do one line, a little curve down the middle. Look at that smiley face, come on. After your oven has been at 500 degrees for 20 minutes, grab your Dutch oven out, leave your base on the stove, and then put your lid back in the oven so that it stays hot. Carefully grab your dough and place it in the base of your Dutch oven. Spread out the parchment paper so that it's flat and it won't crease your dough. Then open the oven quickly, grab out the lid, and firmly place it on your Dutch oven base. This is going to seal in the steam for the first part of the bake. Place the Dutch oven on the center rack, then immediately drop the temperature down to 450 degrees and set a timer for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, open the oven. Then you're going to want to take off the lid of the Dutch oven. If I know I'm baking the second loaf, I will leave the lid in the oven so that it stays hot for the second bake. Make sure that sheet pan remains underneath the bread to prevent burning. The recipe says to bake for 20 to 25 minutes more. I chose to do 23 minutes. Everyone's oven is going to be different, so just do what's right for you and keep notes. What you're going to do now is take the lid, place it back in the oven. We've got to get ready for our second bake. Preheat the oven back to 500 degrees. Wait until your oven has preheated back to 500 degrees before taking your second venison basket out. You're going to go ahead and repeat all the steps from round 1, except you can skip the poke test. Give that bad boy a smile, and it's ready to go into the oven. Don't forget, the first bake has a lid on it for 20 minutes. You place it in the oven, and don't forget to drop the temperature down to 450. Take the lid off and bake for another 20 to 25 minutes. I'm doing 23 minutes. Take it out of the oven, and look at that golden crust. Beautiful. And carefully move this over to a cooling rack. You're definitely going to want to give it a few hours before cutting into it. All right, now that my bread is cool, let's go ahead and cut into it and see the crumb. Drum roll, please. Woo! Look at that. That is some beautiful crumb right there. Nothing left to do but mangia this pane. Now, if you enjoyed this video, and I really hope you did, please like and subscribe and tune in for more videos to come. Let me know in the comments how this recipe turned out for you, and I'll see y'all next time.